what you got. Oh, I can't see tomorrow. Gotta live, try to get a little wiggle room, the rest don't stop. Quid pro quo, I need the best y'all got. Trying to make a dollar, flip it like it's vinyl. Trying to make a way. What's it worth to you if the price too high? Quid pro quo, I need the best y'all got. Give me your best. Don't say nothing less, cause I'm giving you 100. How you always leaving me with nothing? I'm not impressed. It's gonna take more than this, cause I'm giving you 100. And I don't even know if I can trust you for nothing.
Well, good morning and welcome again to a Thursday. Welcome to January the 12th, 2023. Welcome, everybody. Good morning, Vanessa. Welcome to day 12. You flipping awesome 75 harders who started at January 1st. Good morning to day 12. Vanessa, what day are you on? You're on like 10, aren't you? 9 or 10? Double digits, baby. Heck yeah. I love it. Good morning. Welcome to day 10, Vanessa. I'm looking forward to my outside workout today. It's going to be storming when I get back from taking Jagger to school. So I'm going to get to do my outside. You know what? That right there is worth its weight in gold. And I'm telling you, don't you stop. You are on day 10. You're double digits right now. Don't you quit. You keep going. You keep doing what you're doing. I love that you're feeling great. And I hope you're feeling that momentum starting to build, because I'm telling you, now it, when you get to double digits, what's so funny, and I'm going to talk about this morning. We're here at double digits. You've kind of created in the last 10 days this thing, and this energy and this momentum and this push towards something great. And I'm telling you, I'm super proud of you. And you're such a BA anyway. I mean, what I said to you at convention, I still believe that right now. I mean, Vanessa, you're going to be amazing. So, and you've got a heart and a brain like a champ. So be a champ. Well, good morning. And as more people get in here and get going, I'm going to send a message. I guess we need to send a message out, let everybody know that we're here. But my name is Aaron Dwyer. I'm one of the broker owners of Exit Realty Lake Country. So if you're watching this not live with us right now, we do this every morning, 5:30 Central, 6:30 Eastern. And if you're not with us right now and you watch us later on YouTube or the Leaders Nest or even our Lake Country Nation page, I am one of the owners. My wife and I own Exit Realty Lake Country, and we do this every single morning. And we get up and we have a little conversation with our agents most of the time. And sometimes there are folks on here who aren't our agents. But we have lots of conversations that are about life. They're about goals and dreams and desires and different things like that. So welcome. If you're here with us this morning, the drill is, if you're up and you're awake, shoot us a good morning. Let us know that you're here. Let me know that you're here. And we will start our conversation here in just a little bit. So I'm going to wait, Vanessa. I know you're here, and there's some more people joining. Good morning, Diane. How are you? Hope you are. I see another watcher, but I'm not sure where all of our people are. Let me send a message real quick just to. Good morning from East Tennessee. I hope y'all missed all this weather. I think I just looked at the future, Diane. I'm in Mount Juliet right now, so hopefully we're gonna. I think we're gonna get some storms. They're saying we're gonna get some storms and some wind, so hopefully it misses you guys up there in the mountains. But good morning from East Tennessee. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here this morning. I think I'm just gonna get going. We'll let people join when they join. But I want to stay. I think I'm gonna stay right here on this, and we'll just see how long this goes. I kind of had a thought this morning that I would try to keep it a little more condensed and not be so long. But I think sometimes it just the conversation just continues and it sort of evolves in the morning because obviously there's no preparation typically with these calls. It's just what hits me in the morning, what I get, between the time I wake up, between the time I do my meditation, between the time I do affirmations or go outside and run or walk or listen to something in the morning, something will hit my spirit. But I like this idea of perspective change. I like this idea of what we've been talking about since the national championship game of perspective change because I believe the light at the end of the tunnel looks different depending on what your perspective is. Because I've been at times in my life where I thought the light at the end of the tunnel was a train. And there were days in my journey and in my experience where I was really hoping that that train would run me over and just get this thing over with. And there are times more in my life now where I look at that train as as the hope, as the I look at the light at the end of that tunnel as the sun, as emerging, as getting out, as this is the direction I've got to go. Good morning, Miss Teal. That light at the end of the tunnel is different. So I want to ask you this morning now that we're starting to get some people here. I want to ask you when I say use that term, the light at the end of the tunnel. For you in your personal life, is it a light of hope or is it the train coming your way? Because the depiction of the light at the end of the tunnel, if it's a train coming your way, then all is lost. It's the world's crashing down. Imminent danger is there. Here it comes just to get it over with. If you look at the light at the end of the tunnel as a beacon of hope, as an opportunity to emerge, as I'm coming out of this darkness. And it's exactly what I'm talking about, Diane. It depends on where you are. And so realistically, and you don't have to say this out loud, but I would love for each one of you to kind of think about in your mind and maybe in your heart, what if I said to you, what is the light at the end of the tunnel? What does it mean to you personally? And again, you don't have to put a comment in here, but I want you to internalize that and think about that emotionally. When I say, when you hear the term light at the end of the tunnel, do you hear destruction or do you hear hope? Do you hear death or do you hear life? Do you hear bad or do you hear good? Do you hear glass half empty or glass half full? Because, see, I think our perspective has so much to do with that. I think our perspective and where we are in our lives and what we're seeing in our lives and what we're doing with our lives and where we are in our lives. And I'm going to use the 75 hard challenge as an example of that. This time last year, I tried 75 hard. I made a comment and made a statement in the middle of a meeting that I was going to do 75 hard. We had a couple of our agents who were doing 75 hard. And I said, you know what? I'm in. I'm going to do it. And I never could get past day 3. And my perspective at that time was everything was hard. My perspective at that time was I don't have time to get 2 workouts in. I really don't want to drink 2 gallons of water, and it's too hard for me to give up alcohol for 75 days, or I really don't want to do no carbs. So my perspective was when I tried 75 hard just a year ago that everything was hard, that everything was a challenge, that I didn't have time, that I wasn't ready to do it. All the negative, the light at the end of the tunnel last year in regards to 75 hard was a train. And it was rolling down the tracks right at me, and it was going to crush me, and it was going to destroy me, and I was going to die. So when I did it last year, I never got past day 3 because everything was so hard. This year, my perspective is completely different. This version of Aaron, a year later, looks at this as opportunity. One of my breakthrough moments with 75 Hard is when I had to walk through knee deep water on my path. I walked through knee deep water on my one of my outdoor exercises, one of my outdoor 45-minute exercises. It had rained so much and it flooded the path that I walked. And when I got to the puddle, it was either walk through the mud or walk through the puddle. And I thought it better to walk through the puddle than walk through the mud. Just crazy me. Little did I know that halfway through that puddle, because I couldn't see it because it was all dark, dirt, kind of danky water, and I couldn't see where it was, that the water was actually up to my knees. And it was about 41 degrees outside. So I walked through the water up to my knees, came out of the water on the other side. And it was not a small puddle. It was a fairly large sized puddle, obviously. When I walked out of the other side, I thought, huh, look at me. That's something obviously I wouldn't choose to do in my own comfort. That is obviously walking through a knee deep puddle of water in 41-degree weather would not be something that I would typically do on a regular basis. That would not be something that I would look at my day and go, you know what? I think today I'm going to walk through puddles of water because it's cold outside and I'm super excited about getting my shoes and my socks wet. So let's do that. That's not something that I would typically do on a regular basis. But when I got to the other side of that puddle, there was such a strength, and it's such a silly thing, but there was an increased level of resolve, an increased level of strength, and it was almost after going through that uncomfortable thing, and walking for the next mile with wet shoes and wet socks, only to have to come back and walk through that puddle again. When I walked through the puddle the second time, I knew what to expect. I knew what it was going to feel like. I knew what the challenge was going to be. I knew what was going to be in that puddle. I knew what it was going to feel like on the other side of the puddle. And I just got through it. But I'm telling you, something clicked in my mind, and something as silly as that. I didn't have to fight a bear or chase lions. There weren't pygmy headhunters chasing me through the woods. I just walked through a large puddle of water up to my knees in cold weather. But the switch, and Coach Burt talks about flipping the switch. The switch that flipped in my spirit, the switch that flipped in my mind was, there's nothing that's going to stop me. Today, it's supposed to storm. When I get back home from taking Jacker to school, when it's time for my outdoor workout, and I'm sticking to my schedule, I'm doing the outdoor workout. So y'all pray that I don't get struck by lightning because I'm going to be outside and doing my 45 minutes outside like I always do because that's the schedule that I have for myself. Because the only way that I can do this, the only way this works is me to have a pretty rigid schedule. And that's the time in my day where I can get this 45 minutes in. So I'm going outside and it's supposed to be storming and it's going to be raining and I'm going to be wet and I'm probably going to be a little bit cold for 45 minutes doing this thing. But right now, the way I feel in my spirit, I'm actually looking forward to it. I actually want it to storm. I actually want it to rain. I actually want to kind of be a little uncomfortable and be a little cold because when I beat it, when I get through it, and I get back home and I kick my shoes off on the front porch because they're soaking wet, and I take my socks off on the front porch because they're soaking wet, when I take my jacket off on the front porch because it's soaking wet, I'm going to feel such a sense of accomplishment because not only did I physically get through that challenge, but I mentally beat it. So when your perspective changes, when you find out when you got to a certain spot and that certain spot's not what you thought it was, or when you get to a certain place in your business or a certain place in your life and you realize what you've been doing may be working on a small scale, but it's not going to get you to where you need to be. When you finally realize that the light at the end of the tunnel is not a train, that the light at the end of the tunnel is your hope, it's your beacon of light because it's a hope. It's something that you can look at, it's something that you can walk toward, it's something that you can move toward. When your perspective changes, your brain changes. When your perspective, I've been talking about the TCU and Georgia scenario and the way that the TCU's coach now is going to revamp his football program, and the way TCU's coach is going to try to make his school, make his program mimic, look like, be like the best he can, to the best of his ability, Georgia's program, because Kirby Smart has built something that's fantastic, TCU's perspective has changed. I talked about on today's Thursday, probably Tuesday morning, I talked about if that coach looked at Monday night and that football game and getting beat to death as a train, then his Tuesday morning conversation with himself, his Wednesday morning conversation with himself is the SEC they're such a cheaty, bad, evil conference. They have all the best players, they have all the best stuff, they have the best uniforms, the best stadiums. I'm just in the Big 12. The Big 12 stinks, and we don't have stadiums like that, and our uniforms aren't as nice, and our facilities stink, and we don't cheat like they cheat. So I guess we're never going to have a national championship like Georgia is. We're never going to be able to reach. Do you hear all that? If TCU's coach, if that's his mantra, if that's his perspective, that it's the light at the end of the tunnel to train, then he's going to quit. He's going to stop, and then his energy permeates the rest of his team. And this time next year, he won't be in the college football playoffs. This time next year, he will have lost the Big 12 championship. This time next year, he may be looking for a job because TCU saying, "Coach, you're just not our guy now." But if he looked at that game, good morning, whoever that is. Let's see who this is. If he looked at that game like I looked at that puddle, and it was just a challenge, and that challenge is going to make me better, and that challenge is going to make me stronger. If he looked at that game, oops, I'm on the wrong. I'm on the Nation page. Let me get out of this so I can see who that is. It's on the Nation. Y'all give me just a second. If he looked at that situation and he looked at what he did and he looked at that opportunity as his perspective change. Let me find this probably get on this. Good morning, Kristen. If he looked at that game, if he looked at that defeat, if he looked at that 65-7 butt kicking that he took, and that the TCU Horned Frogs took, as a way to have a different perspective on what it takes to be a champion. If he looked at the light at the end of that tunnel as hope, if he looked at that light that was coming down the track or that was out there in the distance in that dark tunnel as a beacon of hope, then he goes back on Tuesday morning and the conversation is much different. The conversation is much different because now he's looking, like I've said the last couple of days, he's looking at ways to tweak what he does. He's looking at ways to change how he goes about his day-to-day routine. He's looking at ways to change how his players train. He's looking at ways to change and mimic what somebody else does, like Kirby Smart, to make a championship caliber organization, because now his perspective has changed. What he thought was here is actually here. And then when he reached here, when he saw that light, he's not going to look at it like a train. He's going to look at it like hope. My perspective has changed on 75 hard. My perspective has changed on 2 45-minute workouts, one being outside. My perspective has changed on drinking a gallon of water. My perspective has changed on this whole program. So now I look for opportunities to do my 2 workouts. Now I carry a half-gallon jug of water around with me, and I make sure that I drink my half-gallon jug of water before noon. And as soon as I drink my first one before noon, I got it licked. I read my pages in the mornings. I get my workouts in the afternoon. So now I understand what's being asked of me, and I have a perspective of hope. I see the light at the end of the tunnel as hope. Because as good as I feel right now, Vanessa, think about this. As good as you feel right now, think about feeling 7 times better than you feel right now. Or feeling, if you were to multiply that, if you did this week and next week's 20% or 100% better, then it's 200% better. I mean, in 6 weeks, you can feel 1,200% better than you feel right now. That's not even compounding math. That's probably more than that. I mean, imagine feeling your feeling of yourself, your feeling of your strength, your feeling of that your perspective changes so much that your outlook on life changes, and you have a 1,200%. Your outlook on life is 1,200% better than it is right now. I mean, again, what is the light at the end of the tunnel for you? When you have an opportunity to change your perspective, when you happen to have an opportunity to challenge yourself in certain situations and you accomplish that challenge, you meet that challenge. Not only do you greet the challenge, but you defeat the challenge. You gain strength. You put that feather in your cap. You look for the next challenge. You see, life and happiness for us, happiness in life, I believe, comes from finding challenges, greeting challenges, and beating challenges. I believe as humans, we have lost the ability, we have lost the desire to go beat challenges. We have lost the ability, we have lost maybe not the ability, we've lost the desire as a human race in 2023. For the large majority of us, we shrink at the thought of being challenged. We don't want to be challenged. We don't want someone to challenge our thinking. We don't want things to challenge our personalities. We don't want things to challenge our personal realities. We don't want things to challenge what we believe is right. We don't want things or people to challenge what our status quo is. We don't want to be challenged for the most part. Now, there are always anomalies. Entrepreneurs love a good challenge. People who are true entrepreneurs, which again, you're a entrepreneur in this business, you are an entrepreneur. When you join the real estate community, when you join the real estate industry, when you have decided that you want to be a realtor and a real estate agent, you have walked across the threshold of being an entrepreneur. And because most of us are so excited, we get more excited about doing nothing. And when I say excited, I'm going to air quote excited because I use that in a very loose sense of the term. I am of the opinion and I'm of the belief that as a human race in 2023, we do not like to be challenged. We don't like it when people challenge what we believe. We don't like it when people challenge what our reality is. We don't like being confronted, most of us. But I believe that entrepreneurship, I believe that doing anything great, when you look at I thought about this yesterday on my walk, and I was thinking about this yesterday morning. Most of the great things that have happened in life, if you take 20 people who've done something unbelievably great, like world changing, great. Think about the rock stars, the Jeff Bezos, the Bill Gates, the Mother Teresa, the Mahatma Gandhi, the Nelson Mandela, the Martin Luther King Jr., the name a person who has done something great. Y'all, none of them are born into greatness. More times than not, and when I say more times than not, probably 90% of the time, most of them were born into some type of hardship. They were born into some type of struggle. They were born into some type of, it wasn't a silver spoon, go get it, tiger. They weren't born that way. They were born with something, some challenge, some situation. They were born into something that greeted them with a challenge. And at some point in their walk and at some point in their development, they decided to not only meet the challenge, hello, challenge, my name is Mahatma Gandhi, and we're not going to do this anymore. They decided to not only meet the challenge and greet the challenge, but they decided to beat the challenge and became so singularly focused on beating the challenge that they created a movement. They changed the course of history. They were recorded in the annals of history. We're still talking about what they do even now. When you read those stories of those people, when you read the stories of these greats, these people who have done these big things, y'all, they're not any more special than any of us or any of you. They're not any more special than any other person walking around. They just made the decision, their perspective changed, and they made the decision when they got to that moment and that moment challenged them. They made the decision to not let the moment beat them, but they made the decision to beat the moment. And not just once, but every single day. That's why this 75 hard thing is so important. You cannot make monumental changes in one day. You cannot make monumental changes in your life in 1 month. Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, went years not making a profit. He went years fighting against his stockholders. He went years fighting against the people who had invested money in his company to try to remain in place. There were times when Amazon thought about going out of business. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine Amazon thinking about going out of business? Can you imagine your life right now without Amazon? There were times when Martin Luther King, I promise you, had conversations with himself, conversations with his team, conversations with his wife, and said, I don't think this is worth it. I'm trying, but no, I can't get these people to do it. It's not gaining any momentum. There were times when Steve Jobs had decided maybe Apple's not all what we thought it was going to be. When you had those moments of puzzlement, when you had those moments in your life where you're at that crossroads, you're trying to decide, is it worth it to go outside and walk this 45 minutes, or do I need to start over again? There are times in your life when you're at that crossroads and you're dead tired, and Kristen gets home from a 12-hour shift and she's exhausted and she's sore because she's been fighting this and doing that. I mean, I can't even imagine what she has to go through on a 12-hour shift being an ER nurse. I mean, that the possibilities are endless. Um, but when she gets home and she takes a nap, or her kids need something, or her husband needs something, and she's dead dog tired. I mean, I just can't imagine, just knowing Kristen Ritchie like I know Kristen Ritchie. I can't imagine her looking at her kids and going, "Sorry, boys. Sorry, y'all. I'm out. Y'all fend for yourselves." I can't imagine her doing that. She has to meet those challenges every single day. She's doing 75 hard, working. I mean, y'all, we all have these things, but she's meeting these challenges. She's greeting these challenges, and she's meeting these challenges, and she's beating the challenges. So my hat's off to you, Kristen. I'm super proud of you. Keep digging. But let's talk about your business, because your business functions the same way. As an entrepreneur, your business functions the same way. Y'all, I'm telling you, I have been dealing with the same thing, but I'm gonna give you some hope here. I have not. I've done a very poor job myself in my personal business calling my past clients. Got a whole list of my past clients, have the whole thing. They're in Excel spreadsheets. I've got them loaded into my Boomtown. They sit right there waiting for me to call them, and I don't call them. So at the end of last year, I said, you know what? I have got to reach out to my past clients. I'm going to start calling my past clients if I don't do anything else. So neither Christy nor I really do a whole lot of marketing of ourselves for real estate business. But I said I think it's ridiculous that I'm not reaching out to my past clients. So that can I've lost some past clients to other people, right? So I said I'm gonna start reaching out to them, making phone calls. Hey, how y'all doing? Hadn't talked to you in a while. My bad. How are things going? How's your family? What are you guys doing now? Are you still in the same job? What are you guys going to do this year? What's your summer vacation plans? And what's a big thing on your list that you're trying to get done in the next 24 months? I do forward conversations with them, right? And I promise you, I'm doing the same thing that I teach y'all to do because it works, right? Do the same thing. I've called probably 10 of my past clients. I just signed a listing yesterday from one of my past clients. I've got another listing possibility who's a neighbor of one of my past clients. I've got a son and daughter-in-law who are going to buy a house as a result of calling my past client. That's just 10 people I've called in the last week. Now, why is that relevant to this conversation? Because my perspective has changed. I've come to a place in my life and in my business, where I'm looking and I'm going, okay, I'm here, and that's great. I made it to the college football championship game. That's great. But I didn't walk away with a trophy. I get to where I'm at. That's great. We're in the top 10, but our names aren't getting called for that award. We're not being recognized for our excellence. We're not where we need to be. I'm not doing what I need to be doing. I'm not meeting the challenge every single day. And so I changed it. And when I changed it and decided to do something different, I was greeted with success. I was greeted with positive reinforcement. I was greeted with good conversations. So today, as you walk through your day, I want you to think about where you are in your life. I want you to think about the perspective that you have. I want you to think about what you're looking at right now. Are you looking at the light at the end of the tunnel like a train, or are you looking at the light at the end of the tunnel like hope, as a way out, as a way to success, as a way to something great? Sometimes all it takes is the decision to be uncomfortable. Sometimes all it takes is making the decision to walk through a puddle of water. Sometimes all it takes is doing that one hard thing one time for you to realize that it's not that hard. Sometimes all it takes is a little movement in the right direction. Sometimes all it takes is getting to a national championship game and realizing you don't quite match up. Let's go work harder. Sometimes all it takes is making a phone call, doing the thing, reading the book. I want to encourage you today. If there's something that's been challenging you, if there's something you've been shrinking away from, if there's something you haven't been doing because it just seems too hard, you have some feeling that it's too hard. Michelle, good morning. If there's something that you're seeing that you believe is too hard, I want you to not only meet that challenge and greet that challenge, I want you to beat that challenge just one time today. Just one thing. Make that phone call that you need to make. Call that past client. Call that person who has the expired listing. Y'all, I'm telling you right now, there are expired listings in the market. I pulled 6 yesterday in certain criteria in a certain area that I was looking at, and I pulled 6 expired listings. People who have listed their house, houses didn't sell, folks that still probably want to sell their house. Those are opportunities. I can either look at those sheets of paper that I printed with that information and say, they don't want to list with me. There's no reason they would list with me. I don't know who they are. So I'm not going to call them. And I just leave the sheets right there. Or I look at those sheets and I say, there's opportunity there. And I may not get all 6, but I might get 1 or 2. And if I can get 1 or 2 $1.6, $1.7 million listings, that's going to be pretty cool. So today, I want you to meet that challenge. I want you to greet that challenge, and I want you to beat that challenge if it's just one. Because that light at the end of the tunnel, you can choose to let it be your death and choose to let it be your end, and you can sit right there and wait for the train to hit you, or you can look at the light at the end of the tunnel as a beacon of hope and get up and start walking toward it. I can't tell you what's in the tunnel. I can't tell you what other challenges are going to be in that tunnel. I can't tell you you're not going to fall and trip, that you're going to fall and bust your knee, that something's not going to hit you in the head as you're walking, that a bear might not be up there. I can't tell you that. None of us can predict what's around the corner for us most times. But I promise you, sitting in the cave, sitting in the tunnel waiting for the train to hit you is not going to get you any closer to your dreams and desires than getting attacked by a bear halfway down the tunnel. Because guess what? Even if the bear jumps out and gets you, you might beat the bear. And when you beat the bear walking toward the light, guess what you've just done? You've just gotten stronger. You've just elevated. You're just going to level up. Don't shrink from challenges. Greet the challenge, meet the challenge, beat the challenge. It's going to take your effort. Get to that spot where you are. Think about where you are right now. Think about the things, your perspective, and where you want to be. Michelle has gone from one point to another point. Her business has gone from point A to probably point F. And there's a point G or a point D, or that's backwards, a point P that she wants to get to that's out there. She's gotten from this to this, and now because she's gotten to this, her perspective has changed. But now she's got to really dive in. Now she's got to really dig in, because now to get from here to the next level, she's got to get better. Her conversations have to be better. Her meet and greets have to be better. Her referral conversations have to be better. Her calling expired listings have to be better. She has got to get out there and get after it. And I'm going to challenge y'all. Writing to expires is fantastic, but I would get on the phone and call them. I promise you, if you're not picking up the phone and calling people, they are being called by other people. I promise they are. So I'm going to leave this with you today. This was a light crowd. Maybe they'll get up and watch it later. I don't know what's going on, but if they felt like I felt this morning, they probably didn't when I got out of bed. So you got to get out there and get after it. Meet the challenge, greet the challenge, beat the challenge today. Okay? Your perspective can't change until you get beat down pretty good. Your perspective won't change until you are challenged, until you are confronted by grief, until you're confronted by defeat, until you are confronted by something that challenges what you believe about yourself. But for those of you on this call, there's nothing. I'm not afraid and not scared and not fearful for any of you, because you guys on this call are some BAs. And I know that y'all look at challenges, you look at them right in the eye and you smile at them and you say, let's go get it. You're not afraid to put your gloves on and climb in the ring and take some swings at a challenge. So I'm going to encourage you, meet that challenge today, greet that challenge today, and beat that challenge today. Okay? I love y'all. I'm getting off of here. We'll see you in the morning. Be good. Be great. Be you. Bye, y'all.